A song like, House That Heaven Built, what strikes me about that song is the softness of it. The softness at the core of that song, that it's expressing something, so heartfelt. It really is a song that describes the kind of love that you feel when you're 21.
I think it's pretty clear at this point that if there's one song that anybody is ever going to know Japandroids for, it's going to be House That Heaven Built. Brian and I talked a lot about how after Post Nothing, Brian, felt a lot of pressure where he was like, man, I don't know if I'm ever going to write another song that's, that people connect with as much as Young Hearts Spark Fire. Like, I think that might just be the one. If we make 10 more albums, that'll be the song everybody wants to hear. House That Heaven Built obviously has definitely eclipsed that in terms of, just how far it's traveled and how many people have heard it. That was one of the ones that came from the trip to Nashville.
They rented a house for a month and just jammed. They just needed to get away, like no friends, no hanging out. Like, we just have to write the last 4 songs of this record, because if we don't do it when we're away, we're not going to have the time to do it. And that's when they wrote, in particular, The House That Heaven Built was written down there.
We kind of hit a point where things weren't really feeling like they were happening in Vancouver. So a change of scenery just felt like a really good way to just force ourselves to write and focus. So we ended up writing Continuous Thunder and The House I Haven't Built in Nashville. And we have somewhere, I'm sure, I have some very funny phone recordings of original demos of that from that house in Nashville.
And I got to hear the demos from it. They sent me an email with, whatever, a phone recording or something. Yeah, and I heard that song and was like, you've written the hit. Good job. The song's great. So, yeah. So I felt pretty confident about that one at the time.
We didn't think about key back then, so we'd write a song instrumentally just based on where it sounded best on a guitar. So occasionally that creates some problems, because all of a sudden he realizes oh shit, I can't actually sing these notes where they're supposed to be. And we just got so profoundly lucky with The House I Haven't Built, where it's just right at the tippy top of his range and he can just barely hit it.
That was one of the last overdubs we did. We tried slowing it down to do it. We tried lowering the pitch. It's right on the cusp of it. And we tried recording it so many different ways just to get it to feel as a bright and anthemic and exciting as possible. It's actually an old, it's a Daniel Lanois trick that he's a Canadian producer who produced U2's biggest records. I'm pretty sure he did the Joshua Tree. And that was one of the tricks was adjust the song's pitch to be as high as it could possibly be, but not too high. So that way Bono is always soaring, And although I don't know if Japandroids are quite as soaring as U2 gets, they're soaring in a fast, more bombastic way.
There's a certain emotional factor that you can only get, I think, when it sounds like he's actually struggling to hit those notes. There's something about that really brings out this desperation and it really helps that feeling of urgency really come out, so to some extent that was sheer dumb luck, and that's just where the song was written. But I think there was also this element of no, you can hit those notes, it's going to be a struggle, but you can hit those notes, and when you do, it's going to be really special. Made it a bitch to play on live though, for sure, because it's hard for him to hit those notes night after night. Yeah, obviously a calling card for our band is the big backup vocals and all the gang vocals. So for almost every song, but I think this one was one that we really wanted to dial in and make sure that we really nailed it, because we could really tell like this is going to be something people are going to want to sing along to. I think this, and then obviously that bridge in Nights of Wine and Roses are sort of two big moments where you really want the crowd to know they're supposed to sing there. Once we started touring on Post Nothing, we really noticed those moments where people wanted to sing along. And so I think there was definitely a bit more of a conscious effort for this record of being like, okay, let's like figure out a way to like get the crowd to sing along to this part. How do we get the crowd to sing along to this part? And there was definitely a lot more of those like very clear kind of cues that we did. One of the like real like producer moments for Jesse is on that song. So, when he sings, "You're not mine to die for anymore, so I must live." That's when the vocal of the oh should come back in. And Jesse was like, "No, dude, we don't have it there. We just let that space be there. It gives a chance for the crowd to sing it whenever you guys play it live." And I really like that sense of space there. I think it's really cool, and it just like makes the song explode that last time.
It's a lifeless life with no fixed address to give. But you're not mine to die for anymore, so I must live. Born of a bottle from heaven's hand. And now you know, and here I am.
The crowd is sort of this really important part of our show, it's very participatory, right? Like we're not looking to do a thing where like everybody in the crowd's supposed to like sit down and watch us perform a show for them. It's very much like a communal thing that we're all a part of, and we really wanted to like integrate that and kind of like bring that into this next record to really kind of keep building on that. So yeah, having all those big gang vocals was a huge part of creating that sort of an atmosphere.
One of the really fun things about Celebration Rock is that it does feel like hanging out with your friends. There's so many bands, so many great bands where you feel like the band members don't hang out, like when they're not playing together. But with Japandroids, you do feel like, oh, these two are like best friends and they're having a great time. And they're inviting you as the listener to, be the third wheel. They're like, hey, man, hang out with us. We're going to have a great time. And, you might be alone right now listening to this, but if you put this record on, you're not going to be alone. We're going to be with you for the next 40 minutes, and it's going to be a great time. And like all of the great rock records, it is like a companion. You feel like I'm hanging out with these guys and they understand me in a way that maybe other people don't. And I can act a certain way when I'm listening to this that maybe I can't act when I'm with other people, and that's, I think, one of the magical things about Celebration Rock.
When they love me and they will, I'll tell them all that I'll look at your shadow. And if they try to slow me down, I'll tell them all to go to hell. When they love me and they will, I'll tell them all that I'll look at your shadow. And if they try to slow me down, I'll tell them all to go to hell.
I certainly didn't have any insight, nor did Brian, that this song was going to be this sort of life-changing song for us. You're just making every song as good as it can be, and you're just hoping, you're hoping people like it, but most of all, you're just hoping you like it. And, with that song, we just made a song that we were really proud of, but we didn't have any idea of how much it was going to change our lives.
It got bigger and bigger and bigger after that moment in time, and nothing is bigger, nothing is more popular in Vancouver than hockey. It's Canada. Like, Canadians love hockey, and the Vancouver Canucks. You don't even have to be into hockey. You still watch. The Canucks. You watch the playoffs, and they would skate out onto the rink to House That Heaven Built in Vancouver, and it was getting played at the stadium every single week as the local hockey team skated onto the ice. And I know Brian was quite proud because he bought tickets to the hockey game, and he brought his mom, who's a Vancouverite, and he brought her to the game, and she got to hear his song while the team skated on the ice. She's also a big sports fan, from my understanding, as well. So I think was quite a "look, Mom, I made it" moment when the local hockey team is skating to your song onto the ice. I think that was a pretty big deal.
It's wild, to see everybody singing along to your music, and that's the one that just gets obviously the wildest response from a crowd, and that never gets old. I'm never going to get tired of that, ever.